Hi guys, my name is Lucia and today I am finally doing my review of the BH Cosmetics Zodiac Love Signs palette. If you are familiar with my channel at all, you will know that I absolutely adore the original BH Cosmetics Zodiac palette. So when they said they were coming out with another one, I knew that I had to review it for you guys. I don't usually do individual palette review videos, but if there was ever one palette that I would review on my channel, it would be this one. This is a very warm toned palette. When I see this, I think Valentine's, which is absolutely what they were going for because of the love signs. Now, I will show you what the original one looks like. The original Zodiac palette is much more cool toned, much more galaxy themed. The number one thing that I want to say about this palette is if you do not own a glitter primer and you're not willing to invest in a glitter primer, absolutely do not buy this palette. I'm not saying this palette is bad. I actually think this palette is really nice, but you need to know that these metallics do not work without a glitter primer. And I have put eyeshadow primer on every single day that I've worn this, but the few times that I did not wear a glitter primer, it was a mess. Basically, by the end of the day, the metallics were absolutely gone. You could not see them. What was left was really creased. I have never had that issue before with any palette that I've ever used. So just know that. But if you do use a glitter primer, they are extremely nice. Now I do want to talk more about the metallics, but really quickly I just want to break down the grams and the size of these palettes. So they are the exact same size when you hold them side by side. And this is how big they are. They appear to be way bigger on camera, but they're still gigantic palettes. Now, the original Zodiac palette has a net weight of 30 grams. I don't know how much is in each eyeshadow because I don't know how much the highlight has in the middle, and I don't know how much the metallics have compared to the mattes, but there are 12 metallics, 12 mattes, and 1 highlighter in both of these palettes. Now, the Zodiac Love Signs palette has 27 grams, which is 3 grams less than the original, and you really can tell. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell on camera, but in person you can tell that these metallics are a little bit smaller. Does that bother me at all? Absolutely not. I don't think I would ever go through any of these metallic shadows. I do not think 3 grams should make you not buy this palette. This is $24 on the BH Cosmetics website. I got it for $5 off when it first came out. They have promos all the time, so I would definitely wait till this is on sale. Now, this is not on the Ulta website yet. I had some troubles with my package. It was very late getting to me. I know that during the holiday times, a lot of packages can be late, but just in general, I've heard a lot of you guys tell me that the website for BH Cosmetics does have some issues with shipping. I would honestly say if you're looking for anything else from BH Cosmetics that is on the Ulta website, like the original palette, get it from the Ulta website, and if you're watching this in the future when this is on the Ulta website, order from Ulta instead of BH Cosmetics. Going back to the metallic shadows of this palette, that is the one thing that stood out the most to me when I originally was swatching this and testing this out. The metallic shadows of the original palette are much thicker. They have a lot more pigment to them. They feel really, really, really luxurious. These metallics are a lot thinner, and with some of the lighter shades, it takes more effort to build up the pigment. So Scorpio, Aries, and Virgo are the main ones that I am talking about, where when you swatch it, it is more glitter than pigment, and I'll give you an example. So this is one swatch of Virgo, and I don't know if you're going to be able to tell, but it is pretty thin, and there's not a ton of pigment. Now, obviously, it's still pigmented, but compared to the original palette, this isn't really that impressive. Now, you can build this up, and with the glitter primer, it doesn't look bad, but just keep in mind that with those lighter shades, you might want to have a base for them or put something under them or just use them as an accent highlight because they are very thin. So I know a lot of people are wondering if this is the same formula as the original palette, and I think no. I think the metallics are not the same formula, but I do think the mattes are the same formula. The mattes are beautiful, they blend really well, they're pigmented, they're easy to build up. In terms of the actual colors of this palette, I really appreciate that there are mattes that correlate to all the colors of the metallics, whereas in the original palette, about half of the mattes are purple, which doesn't exactly correspond with the metallics. Now, I think that this half, which is really the warm tones, is pretty unique to my collection, actually very unique to my collection, because these are tones that I don't think you see in a lot of warm toned palettes. vibrant pink and yellow vibe that they're going for is different than the usual orange tones that are seen in warm tone palettes. Now this does have some orange tones. It has the shade Leo and Virgo, but they are quite different from usual orange tones. Now I will be honest, I haven't used the shade Virgo, and I might not ever because it's a super clementine-like shade that I just don't gravitate towards, but I did a look with Leo. I will pop it up on the screen. I absolutely loved that. Today I am wearing the shade Cancer all over the lid with this in the crease, this on the outer corners, this brown and this brown on the outer corners, and then this dark brown to deepen it up. A critique that I have for this palette is there really is only one deep shade that you can use with everything that's not a blue look. This deep purple that is near Sagittarius I use with kind of every shade when I want to deepen it up. I think I would have liked to have seen either a really deep pink or a really deep orange. I think that would have added more depth to it, but I also do think you can use this shade to deepen up any look. Let's just come out and say it. They did do the blue pop effect. This Capricorn shade I have not used. Don't know if I'll ever use it. I'm really not into blues, and this is so vibrant. And the shade Aquarius is actually really pretty. It's kind of a deeper galaxy blue. I have not used the matte shade with Aquarius. Again, not sure if I will. I'm just not into the blue pop effect within palettes, and that really made me hesitate when I was first buying this because I was like, okay, is this going to be a boring palette with the blue pop effect? But if you cover up that blue, this palette is still super interesting with all of these pink and gold tones. In terms of fallout, I experienced fallout with every single palette that I've ever used. There is a ton of fallout with these glitter shades. It doesn't bother me at all. Just do your eyes first and then do your face. I will say that with this shade I used today, which is particularly one of the glittery shades in this palette, I did have some fallout once my face makeup was on, and I'm not sure anymore if I still have glitter under here, but when I was first putting on my foundation, I did see that. Doesn't really bother me. It wasn't a ton. It wasn't anything that I think anyone but me would notice, but if that is something that you don't want any glitter fallout whatsoever, it is something to keep in mind. So overall, I like this palette. I don't think the metallics are as good quality as the original. I think using the original feels really luxurious. This feels more like the price that it is, but I still think that it is a really nice palette. I think it really just depends on if these are your shades or not, because these are very specific shades. There are not a lot of nudes in here. It's very bright, and if that's not something you want to go for, then I don't think you'll like this. This does have my stamp of approval, but I don't think you'll hear me give it the same praise as my original Zodiac palette, but we'll have to see. I've owned this for 1 year. I've had a lot of time to get to know it, and I've only owned this palette for a couple of weeks. It takes a while for me to let a palette sink into my collection and understand if I truly love it or if I like it. Now, in terms of which palette you should get, it really just depends on what your preferences are and what you're looking for in your collection. Like I said, this palette is way more cool toned and this palette is way more warm toned. So if you are looking for these galaxy shades, these more cool tone shades, I would go for this. If you are looking for these bling warm tone shades, I would go for this. Yes, the quality of this is better, but if you don't like these shades and you like these shades, it doesn't make sense to buy the original just because the quality is slightly better, because the new one still is good enough for you to get amazing looks with. Lastly, I will say that this definitely is not a winter palette for me. I have been absolutely loving this original palette for the winter. I've been wearing a lot of the silver shades. If I wasn't testing out for a review, I definitely wouldn't have used it so much the past couple of weeks, but I think when we get into spring and summer, it's going to be amazing. It also just doesn't really fit my wardrobe. I've been struggling to match my clothing with these super bright pinks, but that's just a little side note. Alright guys, so that was everything for this video. I really hope that I answered all your questions. If anything was unclear at all, please ask me in the comments below. Let me know if you got this palette, what your thoughts are on it. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye!